Namaste, Pranam. Meditation on the Bhagavad Gita. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavatveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Arjuna, which was included in the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Goddess, contained in the 18 chapters and showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism. O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanura Mardanam Devakim Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. O son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. And today from this 45th Shloka of the Sankhya Yoga, the second chapter, second adhyaya of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna is going to tell Arjuna and also to us of what ought to be the ideal life. Like in the previous 3 verses, he has categorically explained to us that how the feeble-minded, the people who are so weak in their resolve, infirm, no firmness in their decisions, how they keep on jumping from one decision to another, and in the end, their focus is absolutely helter-skelter. There is no fixed focus of their living, of their activities, of their karma, and from one thing to another, they keep on jumping, and with the entire the entire objective is to have the heavenly pleasures. No sorrows attached, no miseries attached, no unpleasantries attached, only the heavenly pleasures, which is basically a nonsensical idea because the dualities, they go hand in hand. The opposite dualities, the pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow, the heat and cold, then so they always go hand in hand. If you desire for one, the other automatically comes whether you like it or not. Every cycle of up has to see a cycle of down. So that is what Sri Krishna has told us in the previous 3 verses, that how people just keep on talking great about all those karma kanda aspect of the Vedas and saying, oh, that part of Veda is absolutely wonderful. That I seek for long life, I seek for life without any troubles, I seek the pleasures in this world. That is the karmakanda aspect of the Vedas. And these people, such people, they keep on eulogizing that part. Then the people, all their activities are centered around enjoying the worldly desires. Kamatpanaha swarga paraha. So that is the kind of people that they only seek the heavenly pleasures in this life and in all the births to come. They accept that yes, there is going to be a rebirth after this birth. But there again, their desire is only to enjoy the worldly pleasures. And then Sri Krishna has cautioned that Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya parhuta chetasam Vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhauna vidhiyate. With that kind of thinking, with that kind of attitude, one can never have the power of discrimination, of discriminating between what is real, what is unreal. And with that kind of attitude, a person, it just loses the opportunity of getting an equal-mindedness, same-sightedness, getting into samadhi, getting the real understanding of what this life is, what is the objective of this life, and for which Sri Ramakrishna had said in that quote that Swami Chidbhavananda ji had used, that the vulture soars high up in the sky, but that doesn't mean that his thinking is very high. No, his entire focus is only on that carcass below on the ground, which he's seeing all from that. He has got actually the biggest advantage of being at such a great height, but which is of no use, because his entire focus, that vulture's entire focus, his attention is only on that filthiest of the carcass, which is lying there on the ground. So Sri Ramakrishna says, the man steeped in worldliness, steeped in enjoying the worldly desires, howsoever intelligent he may appear, but his entire focus is only on that carnal pit. Now, Sri Krishna tells us in this 45th Shloka, trai-guṇya-viṣhayā vedā, nistrai-guṇyo bhavārjuna, nirdvandvo, nitya-sattva-stho, niryoga-kṣhema, ātmavān. Trai-guṇya-viṣhayā, the threefold qualities that the universe, that this Prakruti is comprised of. Sri Krishna is talking about the sattva, rajas, tamas. This entire Prakriti is composed of these three gunas, which lead us into getting into various activities. The sattva guna is predominantly related to purity, the truth, all the good aspects. Rajas is nothing but activity. We see so many activities happening around us, people, so many, busy in so many ways. All that busyness, all that activity mode, activity fold is because of the element of rajas, the quality of rajas in the Prakriti. And then the third quality, tamas, the lethargy, all the negativism. Why to do all those things? Just sit, don't do anything. That kind of attitude, the totally negative attitude, that is tamas. Now this entire Prakriti is composed of these three gunas. So Sri Krishna says, trai-guṇya-viṣhayā vedā. The Vedas have spoken about the three qualities with which this Prakriti, this universe, is pervaded. Nitrai-guṇya-viṣhayā Arjuna. Oh Arjuna, you be devoid of these three gunas. You go beyond these three gunas. Don't be sattvic, don't be rajasic, don't be tamasic. Go beyond. You cross over the limitations of the three gunas and get into the realm of what? Nirdvandvo, nitya-sattva-stho. Getting beyond the pair of opposite dualities. The pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow, happiness and misery. Go beyond this. Nitya-sattva-stho. Always be established in the sattva guna. Getting beyond the three gunas, always remain established in the sattva guna. And sattva guna is nothing but purity. It is a channel which takes us to the divine entity, to the ultimate knowledge. Nitya-sattva-stho, always remain merged in the sattva. Niryoga-kṣhema ātmavān. Niryoga-kṣhema is free from the thoughts of acquisition, acquiring anything and keeping it for yourself. Don't think about, I will have houses, tens of houses, I will have so many cars, I will have so many things. Get beyond that. There is no need to keep your thoughts on acquiring anything. And once you acquire, your entire effort is to keep it under your possession. So be niryoga-kṣhema, and then what is to be done? Be ātmavān. Ātmavān is establish your mind in the self, in the Atman, not the small s. The small s will do this activity of acquiring and preserving the acquired materials. That is the duty that is left for the small self, small s. But the capital S, the Atman, it is always in that the blissful mode of Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. So Sri Krishna is telling here, go beyond the three gunas. Don't limit yourself to this complex of sattva, rajasa, tamas. Go beyond that and just keep yourself merged in sattva. Forget about rajas and tamas. Now, what Swami Chidbhavananda ji comments on this particular thing. Prakruti, or the phenomenal universe, is here designated as the Vedas. And this is correct definition, because whatever knowledge is there, all the knowledge is there in the Vedas. So here, by talking about Vedas, Sri Krishna is pointing out to the presence of the Prakruti, of the ultimate knowledge of the Prakruti, which is contained there in those Vedas. The compiled literary works of Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva are also called as Vedas. They help the aspirant to understand intellectually the function of Prakruti, that how the Prakruti comes out of Purusha, how the entire Prakruti is projected out of the one Brahman, the one Purusha, and it gets us into that mold of delusion. Once Prakruti gets projected from the Purusha, the play of Maya starts, and then we start seeing the diversity in this creation. Then we get into the magical influence of sattva, rajas, tamas, and we start thinking materially. We start our entire thought process. It gets converted from the spiritual realm to the physical, worldly plane of realm. They help the aspirant to understand intellectually the function of Prakruti. So far, they are indispensable. When the Vedas are said to be imperishable, it refers to the Prakruti, which is eternal, and not to the books, not to the physical books as such, the Vedas, but the Prakruti as such, which is never ending. So the Vedas have no ending. The Prakriti has no beginning, no ending. So Vedas have no beginning, no ending. More than all these, it is Prakriti that is constituted of three gunas of sattva, rajas and tamas. Now, to be Prakriti bound is not the goal of enlightened human life. Prakriti bound is the goal maybe of those three types, of those people that Sri Krishna has spoken of in the 3 verses that we read recently, of getting into the worldly desires. Their entire focus is enjoyment of the worldly desires, of the heavenly pleasures, but not the enlightened souls. For enlightened souls, there is no scope to get entangled in the realm of Maya, of the 3 gunas. The means to get into this enlightened mode is also presented therein. Heat and cold, pain and pleasure, gain and loss, victory and defeat, duels such as these are called pairs of opposites. They are always in pairs. They are not there. They are never single. You can never keep on having only the pleasure, only the joy, only the happiness. No. The pleasure, joy and happiness will always accompany with pain, sorrow and misery, unhappiness. That is the law of Prakruti. That is the law of nature. They are inevitable in the phenomenal existence. When a person refuses to be affected favorably or adversely by these happenings, and when he maintains his even-mindedness, he is said to be making progress in the self-culture. One who is saying that's why everybody says, that's why all the saints, the seers, who have realized the ultimate reality, they keep on telling us, go beyond these pairs of opposites. Go beyond pleasure and pain. The life is all bliss there. There is no pleasure and pain. There is no joy and sorrow. There is no happiness and misery, happiness and misery or unhappiness. There is nothing but absolute bliss, absolute knowledge, absolute existence. The Satchidananda. Beyond the realm of these pairs of opposites. The aspirant deviates from the path when he gives undue attention to getting and keeping these pairs of opposites. As one gets, he is being centered in the self. He transcends the phenomenal existence. If we are focusing, if we are merged, if our entire existence is merged only in the capital S, in the ātmavān, there is no scope for misery, there is no scope for unhappiness, there is no scope for sadness, because there is also no scope for pleasure, there is also no scope for joy, there is also no scope for happiness, there is only bliss, bliss, bliss. Now, what Sri Ramakrishna says, teaching that for this particular shloka, this particular verse that Swami Chidbhavananda ji is mentioned, if the word Gita is rapidly repeated, it would sound Tagi, Tagi, Tagi. Now, Gita, 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 if you keep on repeating it, what it comes to ultimately? It comes to Tagi, 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 Tagi. Tyag, the renunciation of the pair of opposites. That is the real renunciation. It is not renunciation, it's just you give up your household and just go to the jungle, forest and start chanting the name of Lord. That is not renunciation. You may leave your household, you may go to forest, but your mind still, if it keeps on dwelling on the worldly pleasures, on the worldly desires, what is the use of that renunciation? And therefore Sri Ramakrishna says that remaining in the household, you can be a great renunciate. You can renounce everything. Just repeat word Gita. Gita, Gita, Tagi, Tagi, Tagi. Renounce everything mentally. Renounce the pairs of opposites. And you will really get into the mold of ātmavān. The mind centered in the real self with capital S. And Tagi is the modification of Tyagi. These are Sri Ramakrishna's words. The man of renunciation. Renunciation of the phenomenal existence is the gist of Gita. That is what Sri Krishna has said here. Get away from all those worldly desires. Get away from all those worldly enjoyments. Get away from all those worldly entanglements. Get away from the three gunas which are binding you to this world of Maya. Get away from it. Renounce everything. And renounce the pairs of opposites. Nirdvandvo. The dualities. Get above it. Nitya-sattva-stho. Always get established in the sattva. And niryoga-kṣhema. Be away from accumulating the things and putting all your energies and efforts in preserving them, which are not going to remain there at all. They're all impermanent. Whatever you acquire, the wealth and properties, they're all going to go away one day. Even if you go before them, someday or the other, all those houses, all those properties, all those buildings, they are going to vanish from the space of this earth. So Sri Krishna says that renounce. And that is the gist of the Upadesh of the Gita. That is what Sri Ramakrishna has mentioned in that teaching, which Swami Chidbhavananda ji has mentioned at the end of explanation of that commentary on this shloka. So that is our reading of the 45th shlok today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swamiji.